What's here?
Yeah, am I telling the truth?
Telling a little bit of truth here, bro. And when it comes to telling truth, it's some controversies to that, man, because it's not always black and white, man, to tell the truth. Sometimes it's a good thing. Some people might view it as a bad thing. There's sayings like being brutally honest, but nobody ever calls nobody a brutal liar, so it's a stigma on being honest sometimes. We can get into this whole conversation where call back to earlier, number 82, Shannon Sharp, doing fantastic things, man. Another great episode released on his Club Shay show where he had Miss Monique up there.
Doing blockbuster content.
Doing great content, man. And I'm going to be honest, I had never been a huge fan of Monique, but it was good to hear from Monique, and hear a point of view. I enjoyed listening to her. It felt like listening to an old auntie or something go at it. You know what I mean? Like, so she gets into the conversation about her and Cat Williams being truth tellers. And she poses a question to Shannon where she's like, hey, she said she got into a fight with some girls because a girl came to her and told her the baby ain't his. She said, but I'm going to lie to her and tell him that it's his. She said, you can't do that. I'm going to tell that brother the truth. And they wanted to jump him over it. Then she posed the question back to Shannon. What would you do if somebody came to you and gave you information that was going to harm someone else? Do you keep it to yourself or do you share that information? Shannon said himself, it stays between me and that person. And that's one way to look at it. But she said, she basically is on the side of things, but she's like, hey, how do you withhold information if you know that's going to harm or hurt someone and then you don't share it? You don't help them in that time. And that leads us into this topic of, is telling the truth ever not right? And it's a difficult one to walk because I'm from the upbringing and the values that was instilled in me is of that you mind your business. You know what I mean? I saw Stephen A. Smith on his episode respond to Monique's interview. And what he had to say is, it's not your job to step out there and say these things against these people.
Right.
And maybe he's right, or maybe he isn't. You know what I mean? Like, maybe. I've watched us go into a culture where even me as somebody who is on the side of mind your business and stay out of people's business, I watch us go too far and we've lost balance. And you get situations where the lady on the subway in Philadelphia gets raped for 40 minutes and people record it on their phone, but it takes an off-duty cop getting on at a stop to stop it because everybody minded their business. You get situations where George Floyd gets killed in front of everybody because everybody minded their business, given it's a cop involved, but everybody minded their business. And his life could have been saved if someone or some group of people would have came together and said, hey, look, that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, so we do that. I watched a video of some people. It was a skit, but the point was proven. They were kidnapping children in front of people. They would put the towel like it was chloroform and put it over their mouth and run off and grab them in front of people. And people, not one person said nothing. They looked back, went into their phone and went on by their business.
That's crazy.
They minded their business. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Yes, when you get into aspects of gossiping or even in Monique's situation where you're talking about people's income and stuff like that, it's a weird place to be because yes, you kind of mind your business because I don't know what's going on with your negotiation and how you ended up in this position. So let me just stay out of it. And then you got your situations where it's like you sit back and you watch wrong happen for real. And wrong is subjective at the end of the day. But we get into these situations where we all probably can agree. The majority can agree that was wrong. And we go, shh. And that's where the balance is lost on my end. I don't know what your thoughts is on this, but I like to hear them.
To me, it's multi-layered, right? It's simple, but it's multi-layered. And it all comes down to breaking it down. Now, how simple it is also depends on what your perspective is. Like you said, it's all subjective. So my whole idea is understanding what the level of detriment is. What's the level of detriment? Whether I'm going to tell the truth about something or whether I'm going to mind my business. Now, a lot of times we're like, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. And that truth ain't your business to tell. But now it's like just weighing that difference of what is the detriment of me not telling this information. If me telling the information that I got idea that somebody's going to go murder somebody tonight, hey, I got to go tell that, right? Because the level of detriment
you
is
could be deemed
high.
a snitch with that also, which is where we get into this weird culture.
No. Being deemed a snitch is more so of, hey, somebody did something, now I got to go tell on them that they did it. But now if I'm given a warning, I don't think that's snitching. Especially if it's somebody I care about, somebody I know, like, hey, look, I heard there's going to be some plans that somebody's going to go and do X, Y, and Z. You might want to watch yourself just to give you a heads up. To me, that's not necessarily snitching, not necessarily minding somebody else's business, but understanding, hey, look, I have some information, and this is information that I have to go share. Just like you will see somebody putting a cloth over a child's face and abducting them. I need to step in. I need to intervene. That's time. Now is my business, because now I might have blood on my hands, right? So it depends on how much ownership am I going to take on something. If I have some information, and now we can even go into the legal sense of, hey, look, if I have information and I don't share that information, do I become an accessory to this, right? Do I become an accessory? So now, is this something I need to go tell? Now, in a situation like somebody having a baby and it ain't theirs, but she gonna go tell them it's theirs. Now, I might not go directly to the person and say, hey, look, I heard Brenda said X, Y, and Z, and it ain't your baby, because she could have just been talking. Now it done caused a mess.
Yeah.
So that might be something that's not my business. Or I might go tell somebody that might want to confide in them that, hey, look, I might have heard, and the way I might position the information and share that information, how I present it might be different. Instead of saying, hey, look, I heard this and this is what it is, da, 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 da. And now that looks like I'm just going off, just blabbing my mouth and telling. It's different. What's the level of detriment, right? How much blood am I going to have on my hands because I have information that I'm not sharing? Or am I just being messy? Or am I spreading something that may or may not be true? Or what is my impact of the information that I know versus what I'm sharing? There's a difference between being messy and a difference between being legally right.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Monique said some interesting points. I can't argue with her stance and her point of view, but I do know it's multi-layered. Like, she got into the whole thing of if I'm good with you and you doing other people wrong, and you come to me and confide that you're doing wrong, I can't be good with you until you clean your stuff up, because I now at this point can't trust your character.
That's fair.
Which is a very fair statement to say.
That's fair.
But that is also how you end up in the position she is, blackballed. She said she went to a lot of people and they said stuff in private to her in agreement with her, but out in the open they didn't. And that's where it gets weird. When you tell these truths, it doesn't mean that the people that that people gonna have your level of integrity throughout these situations. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even if they agree with it, they may not vocally agree with you out.
So this is the way I conduct myself in day-to-day business, right? This is outside of anything that's criminal. Anything that's not criminal, somebody tells me, it stays with me. I don't care what it is, 9.9 times out of 10. If you're telling me something, I'm not thinking you're telling me that information for me to go tell somebody else. If you want to tell somebody else, you're going to go talk to somebody else. I think that you're just having a conversation with me, and that's it, right? And then whenever you want to go share this information again, you're going to go share it with somebody else you want to talk to. You wanted to talk to me. You share that information with me. Maybe you wanted some feedback, or maybe you just wanted to let that information out, or maybe you just wanted to just to talk. All right, well, good talk. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how I operate my day-to-day. If you tell me something 9.9 times out of 10, especially if it's nothing illegal, it's going to stay with me. You're not going to hear, and because I hate being on the side of, it happened to me one time, years ago, and I vowed that would never be me. Just saying something, they think it's no detriment, but then finding myself in a messy situation because I said something that somebody else said. So after that, talking about 20-some years ago, about it. That'll never be me, because if you hear something about something you did and you told me, I guarantee you they'll never say they heard it from me.
Yeah.
It came from whoever else you told them. Like if you went and you told 2 people and I was one of the 2 people and you heard it come back around, I guarantee you it was that other person who told it, because I didn't tell it. I've always vowed to be that person ever since the little messy situation happened. And it's like, you know what? You ain't gonna hear nothing from me because you told me, and I learned that lesson of you told me not for me to go tell somebody. If you want to go share that information, you're going to go talk to somebody else just like you came and talked to me. Simple as that.
Now, I'm of the same ilk when it comes to that. That's where I stand at also. I'm not the person that's going around telling people's business. I'm actually a believer. And my wife gets mad at me about that. She'll be like, she'll find out some information that I already knew. She'll be like, why didn't you tell me?
You
told me not to tell nobody. She said, but I'm your wife. You told me not to tell nobody. I'm sorry.
You still somebody, right? Yeah, you still somebody.
I've always been like that. Like I hold people's secrets to my graveyard. But I also learned myself, I only let my secrets out when I'm prepared for them to be public information. So I'm not the person that goes around and tells someone, hey, guess what? Don't tell nobody. You probably can't remember me ever saying don't tell nobody. Because it maybe as a teenager or something, but in my latter years, I don't say it no more because I expect that whoever I tell something to, they're going to tell somebody.
Tell somebody, yeah.
So once I let it out my mouth, it's public information at that point in time. In my eyes, I'm not worried about who finds out anymore. Because if I didn't want it to be out, I should have kept that to myself.
Anybody. Yeah.
So that's the thing on that level. But at the same time, people also have to realize if somebody tell your business and it was true, hey man, I don't understand getting mad at the truth, bro. Like you got to take it on the chin. Why you mad? We know this is the truth. You can't. I'm of that also. I'm of that belief. I can never be mad at the truth. Like you can be disappointed, but you can't be mad. Like you know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah. So like
if Monique is putting it out there, the stuff that you did. Go ahead.
But check this out though. So like say somebody that you have a high esteem for. Okay, I get it. Never mind. I answered my own question in my head already because you already said disappointed. So I wouldn't be mad at somebody who told my business, especially if there's somebody I held in a high esteem or that I thought was close to me or cared about me. Only thing I can be is just disappointed. Couldn't be mad. You're right. I would just be disappointed that that person that I thought wouldn't be the one to tell somebody something wouldn't told somebody something. Yeah. I would just be disappointed in that.
Go back to the D'Angelo Russell situation last week. What we talked about? We talked about maybe a week or two ago. I don't remember. We touched on Swaggy P and D'Angelo Russell, their situation where he recorded them and then put the stuff out. Now, you can look at it from the point of view of that situation is he told the truth. So it is what it is. But Swaggy P has the right to be disappointed because at the end of the day, you did something that was detrimental to not just I did something detrimental to her and you let it be known, but then you did something detrimental to me in the process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and your loyalty should lie to me, not necessarily her. So like you now have 2 hurt people all because of you. So then you got to weigh it there. You know what I mean? So like, but he can't necessarily be mad at him because you was out here doing what you were doing and that's part of the game. You might get caught. You know what I mean? Like, so
it's like, dang, homie, why it had to be you? Why it had to be you?
I'm disappointed you had to be the one, but at the same time, hey man, I did it. So what am I gonna do? Be mad because now you know who I am? That's what it all comes down to. People get mad because you have found me out. You caught me. That's what I am. You caught me red-handed. I am this dirty, nasty person you didn't want me. I didn't want you to know I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only thing is, like, it's like the disappointment comes because, like, man, if you were supposed to be my homeboy, you're supposed to be my friend or my brother or my sister or whatever, and you care about me, those are conversations that you can have with me in private. Hey, man, I see that you're doing this. You probably shouldn't be doing that. Like, you shouldn't want to out me to hurt me, even if I'm hurting somebody else, unless I'm hurting somebody who, that you care about too, right? Like, say if it's a sibling of yours, whatever, and then you have to weigh who your loyalty lies to the most. Okay, that's your sister or whatever. So your loyalty is probably going to lie with your sister a little bit more than me. So you might want to feel like you need to go do something or say something or put something out to put a stop to something. I get that in a way, in a way. But at the same time, like if you care about somebody, you care about something, that conversation should just be right between, you know what I'm saying, in between closed walls, closed doors, and direct conversation of, hey, look, man, you know that's my sister, you know that's my friend too, you know this and that. Man, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then if you can't come to a mutual understanding, then all you gotta do is just distance yourself from it. And then if anything, I might shoot like some nudges and say, hey, look, I don't think that's right for you. I don't think that the situation's good. On the other side, if I know the other individual too, it depends on how close I am with them, because you might not want the other person hurt too. So it depends on like the interest that you have on both parties. But for the most part, it's not your business to go tell it. And then me, if I'm on the receiving end of that, it's like, okay, well, I see the box of where I got to put people in. That's his character. He's a go tell it person. All right, well, I'm just make sure I keep stuff away from that. You just you learn your lessons, man.
But speaking of the box, that's the same thing for the person who don't like how a person is moving. And this is why Monique logic is somewhat sound, is because she made the same point. She said, if I know that if somebody come to me and say Shannon ain't doing something right, and I'll go to Shannon and be like, hey, you need to clean that up because you ain't moving right. That's the correct thing to do. That's it. Like, and really, if what someone's doing doesn't sit well with you, and you just made the point, you go to that person and let them know, hey, I don't know if you're moving the right way. Maybe you need to check your character and how you moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're doing this, and I don't think it's right, and I don't think that you necessarily would think that's right either to be doing.
Yeah. And if
they do what they do with it, then I know what box to put you in if you're going to continue doing stuff that doesn't align with who I am as a person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but it gets into that weird spot where it's like, okay, then you have to see how much detriment is involved before you say, let me go break the news to the other person that's being wronged. You have to determine how wrong it is. What's your values? And then you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing the same type stuff as this person that I'm being critical of? You know what I mean? Like, so going back to the situation with the basketball players, hey man, if you see one of your boys cheating and you a cheater, it really ain't your place to be saying nothing.
Why are you talking? Now it sounds you just a hater now.
Now you look like a hater. You know what I'm saying?
Because you playing multi-layer with me, man. But no, I really do agree with a lot of what Monique said and a lot of what she stands on. That stand on your integrity. My only concern is how much of the information is she sharing that isn't detrimental information, and you're just looking like a messy bot, and you're just talking to be talking, or how much of it is you truly standing on your integrity, saying, no, I can't stand for that. Because you do need that. You do need people who are gung-ho on things that they're just not going to stand for. That has to be there. That has to happen. That has to be that balance of somebody who's willing to stand in the forefront and say, nope, I'm not going to stand for that because my integrity won't allow me. So I'm going to have to intervene here. But so it's really looking at how much is messy.
Humanity needs
how much
that,
is
bro.
righteousness. You know what I'm saying? What's messy? What's righteousness? And I feel like Monique, she probably does have a little bit of that messiness sprinkled around in there too. They just kind of taints the pool. Yeah. It just taints the pool of when she does say something, okay, is she being messy or is she being righteous? And it's just, you have to have that barometer of saying, okay, it's more of that righteousness than it is that messiness.
Yeah. But see, that's what
I've even heard people say, like, I think D.L. Hughley or somebody said it, that Shannon Sharp, you're being messy. You just become like the Maury Povich show, or one of those Phil Donahue's or something like that. You know, like, Wendy Williams, that's what it would say. This turned into Wendy Williams now. You become the new Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams just went into the gym and put some muscles on. That's kind of how he's been described.
I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is, man. This storyline is going to finish up, and then whatever he becomes after this storyline is done, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's going to be a while before the storyline. There's too many names being dropped and too many people involved. I think people want to hear the next. I think I saw somebody in the comments.
Going through his platform, though.
DL, you're next. No, on his platform. Because I think like, hey,
you think it'll continue his platform?
He'll be next. Yes, I think so. And I think it's gonna be who's next up. All right, y'all talk about DL Hughley a lot. All right, DL, come on, say what you got to say. Let's hear your part. Then he gonna drop some names, and then that person got to come talk. And the next person got to come talk. It's just gonna be on and on and on. But hey, it's all entertainment.
I mean, everybody gonna have their opinion about that, though. If it's messy or if it's legitimate, I don't want to get into that. It can get to the point where it get messy, but I'm not gonna jump to that quite yet. But it can go that way really quickly. You know what I mean? And I'm understanding of that. But for now,
either way, I'm here for it.
Monique was the progression. Monique was the progression of things. I'm not shocked that she ended up coming out, man. And in fairness to her, man, a lot of what she said, I'm sure there's a level of messiness. I think that situation with DL is a little bit of messiness from my understanding of it. It is. But I think that some of the other ones, like Lee Daniels, apologized to her. You know what I mean? So
yeah, the Breakfast Club apologized to her.
Breakfast Club apologized to her. Netflix paid her out. How wrong was she when all these people paid her? You know what I'm saying? How wrong was she? So it makes you wonder that. And ultimately, this is something I always say about people. We're all hypocrites. We're all hypocrites, whether you want to accept it or not. But it's a matter if you're 90% righteous, 10% hypocrite, or if you're 90% hypocrite or in 10% righteous, or some variation in between. It's just how big of a hypocrite you are and how much you're not. But at some point, if you live long enough and you grow enough, you will look like a hypocrite at some point in time. Yeah. Like you're not going to have the same stances and you're going to be wrong at some point in time where you thought you were right. And 10 years later, you figure out you were on the wrong side of things. Like, and that's life. But try to be right more often than wrong. Try to be righteous more often than not. Try to stand on your principles more often than you've been.
True.